Good evening, everyone. We always begin each council meeting with a word of prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to, please feel free to join us. Would you bow, please? Lord God, we bow humbly in your presence, Lord, acknowledge you as Lord and God, and just standing in all of your awesome power. We pray for the meeting tonight, Lord, that we would listen to you and do your will, that all things be pleasing to you and what is good for the city of Conway. Since we pray in Christ's name.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I know it.
Better ask Charles. That's good. We will now call this meeting to order. Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Tucker? Here. Mr. Ledbetter? Here. Ms. Smith? Here. Mr. Jones? Here. Ms. Isby?
Here.
Okay, you should have received copies of the city council minutes from January 25th. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes as submitted. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. We will have, until another councilman gets here, we will not be able to vote on any ordinances tonight. We'll start with community development. First is consideration to approve the nominations of Oak Grove Cemetery Board. Let's see. I do not have those names.
Ellen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ellen Gordy and John Conway. And John's been serving for some time now and has done an exceptional job. Any thoughts on that, council?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the nominations of Ellen Gordy and John Courtway for the Oak Grove Cemetery Board. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Garrett.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 5-0. The next item is an ordinance item, so we will skip that. Next is a resolution for professional services for audit for the city of Conway, Mr. Winningham.
This is something we're not necessarily required to do as far as put out an RFQ for audit. It's considered a professional service, so state law says, cities have the option. They may want to do an RFQ for professional services, and in most cases, we tend to do that just because we feel like it's the proper way to go about it, and you get, it's a professional process and whatnot. So we've had BKD for about 10 years now, and we thought it was a good time to just, check back out there and see if there were other firms that would be interested. BKD was the only response we got, but we're fine with that. I would say they're the premier audit firm for city governments in the state of Arkansas and even in other states as well. They're really good at what they do, and they stay up on GASB standards, which is basically the rulemaking authority for all government accounting. So we're just asking that you approve us awarding the audit RFQ to BKD, and we'll continue our working relationship with them.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for professional services for BDQ. Yeah, what Tyler said, for the audit. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
This will be resolution R2206. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Chief Tapley, we're going to have to hold on you for just a second. Next up is a consideration to approve a taxi permit for Sean's cab service. Sean, are you here? Okay. Mr. City Attorney, what do we need to do with this? Is this just a procedural for our?
I was gonna say, is this the same one we held last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Were they aware they need to be here?
Yes.
They were.
Okay. So do we need to hold that, or this is their second trip?
Seems like it would be denied. It's their second non-appearance. It's their application.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a motion to that effect if anyone.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second that the consideration to approve the taxi cab permit for Sean's Cab Service be denied. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. And the second one is consideration to approve the taxi cab permit for Conway Checkers Cab, a limited liability corporation. Is anyone here to represent that company? If you would, sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Do I have to do anything to turn this on, or is it? Okay, great, okay. Your Honor, members of the council, my name is Tyler Henderson. I am the owner of Conway Checker Cab LLC, and my manager, Mr. Scott, is here also tonight if you have any questions for us. It's pretty straightforward. We have one vehicle in service right now that we'd like to put into service. Our anticipation is we want to expand that pretty quickly, but can't really go forward with that until we get the permission of the council to operate the permit. And we're hoping to also maybe expand into some other types of transportation. We're looking at medical transportation and a few other options that may be grant funded through some entities that we're looking into.
Have you been working with state health on that?
State Health Department, CDC, there's medical transportation grants that are kind of through the CDC that we're working with on that, but that's further down the line. Right now, we're just going to be operating a standard taxi cab service, standard rates, and we also plan to do what is traditionally done with taxi cab service in Conway. We'll offer a late night, no-cost option for folks that want to get home from restaurants or bars, and they just pay a donation. We'll get them home, try to help the police department out, keep everybody safe on the roads.
Thank you.
I move that we enter into this agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a taxi cab permit for Conway Checkers Cab Limited Liability Corporation. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
When y'all plan on starting?
Tomorrow.
Oh.
We have a car ready to go as long as we have a permit in place. We're ready to
Okay.
start. So, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we're now?
Okay, we're seeing if we can get Shelley on Zoom. Do what? We do?
We need to suspend the rules on the ordinances. We have to have 6 to suspend the rules.
You have to have 60.
The mayor can cast a vote to pass a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay.
Oh, great.
What would you need to suspend the rules on?
To approve.
You have to have 6 to suspend the rules.
The only thing the mayor can't vote on is an emergency clause.
So we're now?
So, Mr. Bell, if you'd step up, please, sir. This will be for an ordinance accepting and appropriating funds for the Conway Regional Airport. Mr. Bell, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is part of the Conway Aircraft Project. As you know. That's my.
It sounds
other,
like restaurant noise.
Other personality.
Yeah, she's in Washington, D.C. So thank you for joining us, Shelley. Go ahead,
Can we
Jerry.
go ahead? Okay. This is part of the Conway Aircraft Project. As you remember, Conway Aircraft is paying the match for the grant for this. So what happens is that we get a invoice from Wills Construction, and then so we pay that, and then we get reimbursed from Conway Aircraft. So it's just basically gives us invoice, gives us a check the same day. So we just have to document it. So appreciate the
Mayor,
consideration.
Can we waive the 3 readings or not? Did y'all?
Yeah, it's Shelley on, we can.
Okay. Is she on? I make a motion to waive 3 readings.
I have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0.
Make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance, appropriating funds for the airport. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
This be ordinance O-2218. Mr. Ledbetter? Yes. Mr. Jones? Yes. Ms. Tucker? Ms. Smith? Ms. Isby? And Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Passes
to 0. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Chief Tapley, and our final bit of business tonight is an ordinance to waive competitive bid process for the purchase of vehicles for the Conway Police Department. Hello, Chief.
Hello, how are you all?
Good.
So we are asking to waive the bid process so that we can purchase some vehicles. As I'm sure you're all aware, it's been very difficult to get vehicles over the last year or so. We ordered 7 new vehicles last June approximately. We're still looking at another 1 to 2 months to get those in. We're not sure when they're going to open up the state bids for the vehicles this year. We're being told it may be as late as July or August.
Wow.
We've been lucky. We have found 6 vehicles through Dana Safety, which is normally who upfits our vehicles. And they've got them right now. So we're asking to waive the bid so that we can go ahead and get those purchased and on the road to us.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to waive the 3 readings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 6 to 0.
For the adoption of the ordinance, I have it as 2219, along with the emergency clause.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance with the emergency clause to waive the competitive bid process for the purchase of vehicles for the Conway Police Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
This will be ordinance O-2219. Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker? Yes. Mr. Jones? Yes. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
And the mercy clause, Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Tucker? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Passes 6 to 0. And Shelley, if you will stay online with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. If you will stay online just a moment, Alderwoman Mary Smith has something she'd like to say.
First, I want to thank all the residents for the last 20 years of serving on the council here and for voting me into office. Secondly, I want to thank the council members that have put up with me for the last 20 years. Some 20, some a few, and some a few short months.
I've known you forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
And you too, I guess, Mayor. And Garrett and Charles. But after a lot of thought and prayer, I've decided I will not be seeking reelection this year. So I'm making a shout out to all Ward 3 residents that have even considered in the past or future to run for this office. Have ever been inspired to run, to please throw your name in the hat. We need some good people. And with that being said, that's it.
Well, you've done a great job, Mary.
Well,
Yes.
thank you. I appreciate it.
This all started back 20-plus years ago, is that right? I went over to Brian and Mary's house, and Brian and I have been friends since we were little bitty boys. And I said, Smith, man, you ought to consider running for city council. And Brian called me about 10 minutes later and said, hey, he said, I'm not going to run, but Mary is. I can't tell you what I said, but Mary's Mary's proven to be a great
Yes, she
representative
has.
of Ward 3, so you'll be missed, Mary.
Yes.
With that, council, I'll take a motion to adjourn. I'm going to go to the
So
courthouse.
moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome. Go vote.